everybody, this is the second video looking at solving equations with unknowns on both sides. The previous video was looking at key skills that you need to be successful at this topic. This is going to introduce the topic itself. So on this slide I've got three different equations, and before we start we're just going to talk about what we mean by unknowns on both sides. So by sides we're referring to the right hand side and the left hand side of the equals sign. So in this case you also got a left hand side and a right hand side, and a left hand side and a right hand side. So unknowns are just referring to the variables which are already highlighted in red. So in this case we used n, but they can be any letter as long as they are matching. And then it says equations. Well, these are all equations. However, these are not all equations with unknowns on both sides. So if we look at this carefully, we can see in this equation here, the unknown is only on the left-hand side. So this is not an equation with unknowns on both sides. In the middle equation, we can see we've got an unknown on the left-hand side of the equals sign, and then an unknown on the right-hand side of the equals sign. So this is an equation with unknowns on both sides. Now, the coefficients, which are the numbers in front, can be positive, negative, fractions, etc. And then on the equation on the left, you can see left-hand side and right-hand side. Well, you've got two unknowns, but we can add those up. 3n and 5n is just going to make 8n. So this does not count as an equation with unknowns on both sides. What we're going to look at is these types of equations. And there's a couple of examples here. You can see we've got unknowns on the left, unknowns on the right, specifically the n. And in this example here, a is your unknown. So how do we solve these? Well, let's do some practice first. So just like in the previous video, I want you to apply these operations that have been listed at the top to the same equation at least twice in each case. So I'll give you an example by doing the first one. So we want to add 3 to each side on both sides. So I'm going to add 3, add 3. So this becomes 5n. Now I've got negative 9 plus 3 is negative 6. And then I've got 2n plus 6 plus 3. So that's going to be 2n, and 6 plus 3 is positive 9. So I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Plus 3, plus 3. So now I'm going to get 5n. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3, equals 2n stays like it is, and then you've got 9 plus 3, which is positive 12. Do the same for these operations, and then the last one you can make up yourself. So I'm going to get you to pause the video to try this, and then I'm going to show you the answer here. Okay, so what you want to do in this case is you want to add n to both sides. So plus n. So that becomes 6n minus 9 equals 3n plus 6. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We are going to add n to both sides of the equal sign. So this becomes 7n minus 9 equals 4n plus 6. Okay, next question, we want to take away 2 from each side. Let's take away 2, take away 2. That becomes 5n. Now negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11, equals 2n. And then 6 take away 2 is positive 4. Let's try the next one. We're going to still take away 2 again. So I'm going to take away 2, take away 2. So 5n, negative 11 minus 2 is negative 13, is equal to 2n, and then 4 take away 2 is 2. And we can keep going, but I've just needed to do it twice. We can actually keep going for all of these. And then last example, we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. So you're going to need brackets, and then you can put the 2 on the outside. This becomes 10n minus 18 equals 4n plus 12. So if you want to do that again, we're going to just use a different color. So we're going to multiply everything by 2. So this becomes, put the brackets and the 2, brackets and the 2. So it's 20n minus 36 equals 8n plus 24. And again, we can keep going, but we just needed to do it twice. The last one is optional, depending on what you chose. So let's look at how to solve these types of equations. So you know you can apply any of these operations. You can apply any of these operations as many times as you want. So let's say you wanted to solve this question in particular. So what you might notice here is we have two unknowns. We've got 7x and 2x. One of the unknowns is bigger than the other one. That's going to be important to notice. The rest of this doesn't matter too much in terms of which one's bigger or smaller, but the unknown, you can clearly see 7x is bigger than 2x. So what you can do is you've got a range of options. You can add or subtract 2x from both sides. You can add or subtract 8. You can add or subtract 7x. You could also subtract 43 from both sides, but we're not going to do that. Now, the question is, which of these would be the best first step? They're all correct steps, but which of these is the best one that would help us to solve the equation? When we say solve, we mean we want to isolate x. We want x equals something. X should be on either left-hand side or right-hand side by itself. Pause the video and have a think, and then I'm going to show you the answer. Okay, so again, all of the maths here is correct, so you can do all of these things, but the best option here would be to take away 2x from both sides. The reason being, when you take away 2x from both sides, you end up with 5x plus 8 is 43, which is nice to solve. If instead you take away 8 from both sides, the problem is you still have unknowns on both sides, and you don't want that. So I wouldn't say it's wrong, it's just not going to be very helpful. And then Mr. P took away 7x from both sides. Now, the issue here is that we ended up with a negative, which is fine, but if you can avoid having to deal with them, then that's quite useful. So 5x plus 8 equals 43 is the easiest equation to continue solving here. So therefore, Mr. V was right, obviously. Okay, so have a look at this and decide which person is using the best method as a first step. Okay, so pause the video if you need more time, but I'm going to just explain to you that taking away, adding x to both sides is probably better because you end up with 4x rather than taking away 3x, because then you end up with negative 4x there. So Miss L is doing the preferred method. Now, this method here is not wrong. It's just going to lead to you having to deal with negatives. And we're going to look at some tips on this in the next video.